Scott here from Fishing Adventure. Now, braid versus mono. Which to choose and when? I guess it's a bit of a confusing one sometimes, but I'm going to run you through which is the best main line to use for which application. Now, starting with what technique you're using. Now, if you're lure fishing, 9 times out of 10, you're going to use braid. If you're in the shallows, soft baiting, using smaller lures, targeting snapper, then it's going to be that lightweight 20 pound to 30 pound Inferno braid or Black Magic Hyperglide. Both those braids are perfectly suited for shallow water stuff and are great for casting your lures. Hyperglide especially great for getting that accurate cast and getting you into the zone of where the fish are. And the main reason you're using braid with your lures is because you need to be able to detect a bite or a hookup straight away and then set the hook. And the thing with braid is it has pretty much zero stretch. So if you're feeling something at your rod tip, that's what's happening back there. You pull back on your rod and you set the hook straight away and you hook that fish. Now, when you're fishing in the shallows with bait, you might not necessarily need that immediate hookup. Sometimes it's better to have a little bit more stretch in the line, allow the fish to pick up a bait, swim away with it. If you're straylining, for example, when they do that, they can't detect anything back at the boat either. They can't detect what you're doing, and then you can't also detect any little nibbles. So in our opinion, you're more likely to hook a fish because you let the little ones pick at it, you can't detect that, and then when the big one picks the bait up and swims away with it, that's when you know something's happening, and that's when you can flick your reel into gear and then set the hook. In our opinion, we prefer to use mono when you're in the shallows and you're straylining, anything sort of 30 meters or under. Now, there's a few options there from Black Magic and the mono. You got your premium supple and your premium tough. We prefer to use the premium tough. We just find it's had a little bit better abrasion resistance because often we're straylining for these snapper and the gnarly rocks and in the weeds and stuff. So just any sort of extra protection you can get on your main line is obviously ideal for getting them out of the rocks and then landing them. Now, moving out a bit deeper, 9 times out of 10, it's braid for us. If it's your kingies with your live baiting, if it's obviously your snapper fishing in the deeper water with a combo like that, that's a braid option for us too. It just means you can detect everything that's going on down there because the deeper you get, obviously the more stretch in the line you're going to have. So if you're using mono and you're down sort of 50 or 100 meters, it's going to be very hard for you to detect any bites, therefore you can't react to that. So braid's perfect for anything sort of, like I say, over 30 meters, start using that braid. You get a few options on the braid for the deeper stuff, but our go-to for anything sort of over 50 meters is rainbow braid. You can just see exactly where your line's going to be at all times. So if you're marking sign at 80 meters on your sounder, you drop down 8 colors, your bait or lure is going to be directly in front of those fish that you're marking. And in a situation where you may be deep water straylining, you don't necessarily need to know exactly where your line is at all times. The Black Magic Inferno braid is a fantastic option. It's super strong and its high visibility properties make it great, especially in those low light conditions. And obviously it's that super sensitive, like we say, with the braid, so you can detect everything that's going on and then you can react to it. Now for top water fishing, braid 100% essential. Hyperglide's our go-to. It gives you that perfect cast every time. And then obviously when you're working your lures back towards the boat, you get a bite from a fish, you can set that hook immediately. So that's the go-to. And for game fishing, we run a hybrid. So we run a braid with a top shot option. So that top 100 meters is monofilament, which gives you that stretch. So if you've got a game fish, you hook it up and it jumps out of the water and it throws its head around, it's not going to snap the line or it's not going to pull the hook out as well, because obviously you've got a bit of stretch there, which is important. And same as when you get it closer to the boat too. You can imagine if you're fighting a fish and you've got braid connected directly to the fish, any head shakes that fish is going to do is going to resonate straight back to the rod, and it's going to be quite difficult to obviously fight the fish, and it's also going to potentially throw that hook out really easily, because if there's any little bit of slack line, bang, the hook can just fall straight out. So the reason you'd run a braid with a mono on the top is purely for the capacity reason, and that's the fantastic thing about braid. It's so thin, so you can get so much more on your spool. And in our situation where we're fishing with our 50 wide reels, we've got so much capacity on there that we're never ever going to get spooled by a big fish. So it just gives you that peace of mind, and obviously then you can run smaller, lighter reels as well. And that goes across the board for braid. It's fantastic for that. So the soft bait reels, you can get nearly 300 meters on a little soft bait reel, which is awesome. Obviously then you can, if you get a big kingy on, you can let that run and you're not going to get spooled. Whereas if you can imagine if you had mono, you may only had 100 meters on there, which means if a fish can do a big blistering run, have you spooled in no time. So yes, it's predominantly braid that we probably use for the most part. We do use mono, but yeah, in the deeper water and when you're using lures, braid is 100% our go-to. And Black Magic have a range to cover every single fishing situation, every single size in both braid and mono. So pick your poison, get amongst it and keep those lines tight.